Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. Earlier this month, Canada's Competition Bureau launched an inquiry into Vancouver-based athletic apparel juggernaut Lululemon, following allegations from an environmental group, Stand.earth, that Lululemon was misleading its customers with greenwashing marketing. What is that? Well, the Senior Campaigns Director for Stand.earth, Liz McDowell, is here to explain it to us. And this conversation is brought to you by Pacific Sands Beach Resort in Tofino, laid-back luxury, as beachfront as it gets. So Liz, what is greenwashing and why is it harmful to consumers?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. And so greenwashing is the practice of a corporation misrepresenting the environmental harms of its products. And so it's harmful to consumers because it's deceptive to them. It makes it really hard for consumers to choose brands that align with their values. And what we're really seeing is, like, especially as consumers actually care more and more and are demanding more in sustainability from the products and services that they purchase, we are seeing greenwashing become rife and, in fact, systemic. And so whether it's something like a retail giant like Lululemon that is raking in billions in profits, through slogans like "Be Planet," while doubling its climate pollution over the same time.
And we'll get into Lululemon in a second. So I just want to keep it straight. It's when a company says, "Hey, this product is 100% recycled," but then you learn that it's not recycled.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so, like, or for example, we also recently launched a greenwashing legal challenge against Fortis BC.
Okay.
And Fortis BC, we claim, is misrepresenting gas as a climate-friendly source of home heating.
Right.
And so that's another example.
Not so much. Okay.
Not so much. No.
So let's go back to Lululemon. What are they telling consumers, and then what's the reality?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, Lululemon has a big Be Planet marketing campaign, and in fact even claims that some of its clothes are restorative to the earth.
Okay. What does restorative to the earth mean?
Great question. Couldn't tell you. And, we're arguing that the company is actually significantly exaggerating and misrepresenting the impact of its sustainability initiatives, because you look at its flagship yoga pants, they're all made with polyester. Polyester is made from oil.
Right.
And they're manufactured in factories that are predominantly run on polluting coal, methane gas, have a huge climate impact. And so, as I mentioned, this company, it raked in almost $10 billion in profits last year. It could certainly afford to be genuinely investing in powering its factories with renewable energy or using, less harmful products to make its clothes. Instead, what it's doing is, telling a big sustainability story while literally doubling its climate footprint, its greenhouse gas emissions in the same time period.
Where do we draw the line? Because I can certainly see companies saying, hey, we care about the environment, which is a very broad statement, but not actually having its production or manufacture or sales that actually reflect that. So where do we draw the line of deception?
That's a great question. And I think, in some cases, like in the Lululemon case, I think it's very clear that this is greenwash. Other times it's more nuanced. And so, what we look for is are they actually making an effort? Are they making investments? Where are they putting their profits? So for example, some, not a ton, but some clothing brands are actually investing in renewable energy to power their factories.
Okay.
Are actually investing in making clothes from less harmful fabrics. And so if we see that, then we're like, okay, you can market that initiative. But, when you say something really broad like Be Planet and you can't actually back up what that means, that feels like you're trying to trade off people wanting to feel good about their purchases and wanting to feel like they're contributing to sustainability and not to environmental harms, while you are, actually having a really bad climate impact.
So it'd be like a junk food company saying our food is healthy, which again is a broad term, could mean a lot of things. Yeah. But to most people who would know, they would say that this is clearly not healthy.
Yeah, completely. And I think that's a really good parallel, because we have actually, products have been pulled for making claims of being anti-aging or with the antioxidants, superfoods, cancer fighting, all of that, when they're not. So this is actually really similar. And so in fact, what we're seeing sometimes is companies not only are they exaggerating the benefits of products, but they are actively behind the scenes lobbying against climate policy.
Oh, interesting.
And so that is, very much greenwashing.
Now, when it comes to clothing particularly, is the big issue fast fashion? Because I feel like fast fashion itself, this idea of producing a ton of clothing that doesn't really last very long. I feel like just that concept can never be environmentally friendly, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think there's a short answer and a long answer to what you're asking. And the short answer
with a short one and a medium one.
Yeah,
you got a couple minutes.
Okay. So short answer is like, yes, absolutely, fast fashion is a problem.
Yeah.
And the medium answer is it's not the only problem. So for sure, the fashion industry writ large, multi-trillion-dollar industry, in fact, responsible for up to 8% of all greenhouse gas emissions worldwide. Massive and growing, like expected to keep growing.
Okay.
And so, you know, and it's not just fast fashion. Like most luxury brands, most athletic brands are not doing nearly enough to transition their supply chains to, for example, be powered on renewable energy, to use less energy in their production. And so like, is fast fashion a problem? Yes. And as long as they're producing more and more and more and more, is that a problem? Yes. And there is not a like clothing, not a clothing brand. Some are doing well, but most are failing. Like the vast majority are not doing what's needed. So actually, like it's a sector-wide problem.
So really what I'm hearing is you're not letting rich people off the hook if they're buying luxury brands.
Correct.
Right? Because their luxury brands still may be harmful to the environment.
Yeah. And in fact, probably still are quite harmful to the environment. Yeah.
So,
and I guess I also want to say, though, because I think so often this gets framed as like an issue for consumers to deal with. And I don't think that at all. Because I don't think like, what can we do? All we can do is look at what a company says and if it claims to be sustainable. Like we are doing our best. And so actually it's incumbent on companies to be doing better, making the investments and telling the truth so that we can make more informed choices. Because right now we just can't.
You preempted me because that was literally going to be my question of like, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
So Liz, I appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much for putting a lens on this and explaining it to me in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, so happy to be here.
Folks, that was the Senior Campaigns Director of Stand.earth, Liz McDowell. Check out their website at Stand.earth to learn more about them. And thank you so much to Pacific Sands Beach Resort in Tofino for supporting local conversations. Now stick around because in a whole show about consumer issues, JJ McCullough will be here to tell us why consumerism is actually a good thing. That's up next.